Bird. Following the prayer, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Air Force veteran Cleon Babcock.
The light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets red flare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
And now, we have a 7th-generation Iowa farmer, proud grandfather, a PhD and professor of history and government, school board president, county supervisor, former legislator, speaker pro tem, brought us out of the wilderness to political dominance. Ladies and gentlemen, our fearless leader, Jeff Kaufman.
Thank you much, everybody. And really, when we talk about the caucuses and what all you're going to do, the standing ovation is me standing here for you. But I will have to tell you, every time I get something like that, one thought crosses my mind. Why couldn't my mother-in-law be here to see that? You've heard the song, Try That in a Small Town, Dean? Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, let me tell you about Iowa small towns and what we do try and what we do. In Iowa small towns, we honor tradition. In Iowa small towns, we stand up for the anthem. In Iowa small towns, we protect women's sports. In Iowa small towns, we believe in the power of the people to make decisions with their own money. And in Iowa small towns, we support leaders like our governor, the best governor in the United States of America. Other than that, I don't have a lot of opinions tonight. I'm just going to give special thanks to all the general hosts and sponsors. These dollars go to put on our caucuses. So thank you so very, very much. Also, a special shout out to Jeff Bryan, Poet, for hosting our reception. Thank you so very, very much, Jeff. I'm going to, Titus is here. We got 13. I'm just going to run through a whole list of folks. Save your applause to the end. Just recognize in the crowd: Iowa Republicans, the Iowa Federation of College Republicans, Iowa RNC National Committee and National Committee Woman Tamara Scott, all of our RPI State Central Committee members, former Acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker, New Hampshire Governor Chris, Ambassador Terry Branstad, Iowa Speaker of the House Pat Grassley, Iowa Senate President Amy Sinclair, all the members, the terrific, courageous members of the Iowa House and the Iowa Senate, Treasurer Robbie Smith, Secretary of State Paul Pate, and Lieutenant Governor Adam Gregg. Stand up and let's give them a round of applause. We've got 5 other special people I want to recognize, and if those 5 would stand up when I call your name, and then let's give them a round of applause. Congresswoman Marionette Miller Meeks, Congresswoman Ashley Hinson, Congressman Randy Feenstra, and our terrific Senator Chuck Grassley. We love you guys. We love you guys. Tony Eric sends the very best, and Zach Dunn just hates not being here, but there was mechanical problems on the plane, so they both send their greetings. I want to acknowledge Chris Fields, my buddy from Minnesota, a Marine Corps officer, and in doing that with every single veteran in this crowd tonight, an EMS official and first responder, would you please stand? Police officers, those that protect us, stand. We have the blue in this party. Period. There's no but. Period. I also want to acknowledge Jeff Stein with KXEL for acting as our announcer later on in our 13 10-minute speeches. Let me state this very, very clearly, and we're going to hold to this, folks. If you remember back in 2015, we held to this. There is a 10-minute rule tonight where I have you guys coming after me. We got 13 people, 10 minutes, and every presidential candidate, everyone has been informed in advance. I'm guessing at least 5 to 6 times. And there is a 10-minute limit to their remarks. We have to do that. In Iowa, we are a neutral, objective state. We're going to give everybody a fair chance. If any candidate speaks longer than 10 minutes, folks, the microphone will be automatically turned off by our sound engineering vendor. Not trying to be heavy duty here, but we've got to move on, and that's going to be our rule tonight. I just want to make sure all of you know that. Finally, well, you'll applaud after the 13th one, I can assure you of that. And then finally, last but not least, I want to quote Ronald Reagan. A lot of people like to quote Ronald Reagan. They quote him here, quote him there, but they sometimes kind of ignore a few other quotes. Let's think about this, and I'm looking forward to after the primary season when we have our nominee. Reagan said, if we are in 80% agreement, that makes us allies and friends. It does not make us 20% traitors. What that means is when we are done with this process, and yes, there's going to be some elbows. Yes, this is a full contact sport. But we are going to unify and get rid of that fool in the White House. That's what we're here tonight. my honor to introduce someone I've already shared with you what I think of. But we are so proud of you, Governor Reynolds. We're proud of the way you work with our legislature. We're proud of how you have yourself. We're proud that you are still a small town girl, and I mean that in the greatest governor. I mean that literally. Kim Reynolds, let's give it up for her. Right, Kim Reynolds.
She came out here to be an actress.
I wish I could stand up here and have the view that I have. What an incredible turnout. Thank you all for being here. I am so honored to be with all of my fellow Republicans as we welcome our Republican presidential candidates to the First in the Nation Caucus. And I want to thank Chairman Kaufman. Thank you for that nice introduction. It's always dangerous for me to follow him because, as you can see, the microphone, and it doesn't take much for me to get worked up. So he comes up here, he gets everybody wound up, and I'm competitive, so then I think I got to come up here and get everybody a little more wound up. So it's always kind of interesting when the two of us are traveling the state. But seriously, I want to just say thank you for all that you do for the party, for our county parties, for our candidates. Vicki, thank you for letting him travel the state and just really help the party. He is everywhere. And I especially want to thank you for your tireless, fearless defense of our First in the Nation caucus. You have been doing a lot of work, and we really just appreciate that a lot. Tonight, we have a lot of legislators with us, and just a heartfelt, huge thank you to our legislators that are here tonight for passing legislation that really prevents the Democrats from holding a primary and going ahead of New Hampshire. Now, my colleague is somewhere out there, Governor Sununu, and this is a collaboration, a partnership that we've held for a long time. We're First in the Nation Caucus, they're First in the Nation primary. I hope, Chris, you know that we've gone to great lengths to make sure that we keep that intact. So thank you to the legislators for doing what needed to be done to maintain our First in the Nation caucus. A lot of thank yous, but I also just want to extend a huge thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you for caring about not only this state, but about this country, for standing firm, for pushing back against what we're seeing come out of the Biden administration. And it truly, truly matters. And it's one of the reasons that Iowa was one of the few states that actually saw a red wave, supermajority in the Senate, near supermajority in the House, an all-Republican delegation we sent to D.C. for the first time in 50 years, and they are doing phenomenal work. Two statewide offices, there were only 3 in the entire country that got flipped, and we had 2 of them right here in the state of Iowa. And it is a testament to each and every one of you and the engagement that we see on a daily basis. And guess what? What happens when we elect Republicans? Well, we get things done. We tell you what we're going to do, and then, by gosh, we actually do it. When I said campaign slogan, it was a promise. And working with the legislature, I am proud to say that we delivered. In the first 2 weeks, this is unheard of, in the first 2 weeks of the legislative session, we passed one of the boldest universal school choice programs in the country, setting educational freedom momentum across the nation. We did a really radical thing. We put into statute that parents will be the primary decision maker for their children when it comes to education.
radical. No co-parenting in the state of Iowa. I've yet to have a parent come up to me and said, I'd like the government to share in my responsibility in raising my children. So we didn't. We protected kids from empowering parents when it comes to their kids. What I'm proud to say is in Iowa, we've balanced the budget. We're growing the economy. We have a strong fiscal health. We are cutting taxes, and I'm here to tell you we're not done. We're coming back next year, and we're going to continue to bring them down. We are empowering parents, we're protecting life, and we are keeping our communities safe. And thanking the men and women in law enforcement who stand on the line every single day to keep us and our communities safe. One last thing I'll talk about, and then I want to just highlight one of the things that we got done that I'm also really, really proud of. A lot of elected officials talk about reducing the size. Last session, working with the legislature, we cut 21 agencies from my cabinet. We went from 37 down to 16. We're already seeing the efficiencies, and it's projected to save Iowa taxpayers about $215 million over the next 4 years, and I can tell you without hesitation, that is conservative. So every day, I think here in Iowa, what we're doing is we're showcasing the alternatives to the chaos and crisis and overreach and just insanity that we see coming from the Biden administration. Iowans, Americans are sick and tired of the incompetency, of the elitists lecturing us while they're disconnect from reality. You know, we're living in crazy times, and our country is in decline under this administration. But we are a resilient nation. We are a resilient people. We just have to make sure that we put a Republican in the White House in 2024, because we cannot stand another 4 years of the Biden administration. So I'm going to come back to you. It all starts with us, the First in the Nation Caucus on January 15th. So I want you to take this engagement. I want you to take this energy. I want you to lean in even further, and let's show the country why it is that Iowa leads. Jeff, I want to break every other caucus record that we have ever had. I want to blow it out of the water. And with each and every one of you that are here tonight, bringing more people into the process, we will get it done. We will elect a Republican in 2024. God bless you. Thanks for giving me the honor of serving as your governor. I love this state. I love Iowans, and I could not be prouder to be your governor. God bless you.
Please welcome Ambassador Nikki Haley.
It's great to be here. You know, I just told your great governor, I think we were thinking alike when we both wore the strong red. You know how to grow strong women, that's for sure. We see that with Kim Reynolds, we see it with Joni Ernst, we see it with Marinette, we see it with Ashley. Y'all continue to understand that. So I will tell you this now, just stop with me and we're done. You don't need to watch anybody else. You know, everybody was complaining it was hot in Iowa. And I said, well, you know, we're used to being hot. And they said, well, yeah, but when you walk outside, you immediately start sweating. And I said, well, in South Carolina, we don't sweat, we glisten. You know, I don't need to tell you how bad things are. You don't have to turn on the news to see it. We are 32. I would love to say Biden did that to us, but I've always spoken hard truths, and I'm going to do that with you today. Our Republicans did that to us too. You go back and look at that $2.2 trillion COVID stimulus bill that they passed with no accountability. that expanded welfare that has now left us with 90 million Americans on Medicaid, 42 million Americans on food stamps. And did Republicans try and make it right? Nope. They doubled down and opened up earmarks again for the first time in 10 years, pushing through 7,000 of them. Things like an honors college in Vermont, horse racing in Arizona, tearing down a hotel in Alaska, and the list goes on. All while 1 in 6 American families can't pay their utility bill, 60% of Americans are on credit card debt. Social Security. You look at our education system and you see that our 13-year-olds are at the lowest levels of reading and math that they've been in decades. And then you go and you look at the border. And I know Kamala's here in Iowa, but I bet you she hadn't spent near as much time at the border as she spent in Iowa talking about abortion. I've been to that border. The idea that those ranchers get up first thing in the morning and go see if anyone died crossing the fence. They pick up whatever little kids were left behind and they turn them over to Border Patrol. They arrest whoever they can get before 7 a.m. Border Patrol gets them, they document them, and release them until their court date years from now. When you ask Border Patrol about their job, they said, you want to know what we do? We're glorified babysitters. They don't let us do our job. 5.5 million illegal immigrants have crossed that border. Across the border that would kill every single American last year. Number 1 cause of death for adults 18 to 39, fentanyl. And don't think for a second China doesn't know what they're doing when they send it over. So we've got some work to do. And I'll tell you what I told South Carolinians when I became governor. No more whining, no more complaining. Now we get to work. How do we fix it? Let's claw back the $500 billion of unspent COVID dollars that are out there. Instead of 87,000 IRS agents, let's go after the hundreds of billions of dollars of COVID fraud that exist. If 8% of our budget is interest, quit borrowing, cut up the credit cards. Republicans and Democrats have a spending addiction in D.C. When it comes to education, our kids can read by the 3rd grade. Let's have complete transparency in the classroom, and let's let parents decide where their kids should go to school. When it comes to the border, we'll do what we did in South Carolina, but we'll take it national. We'll do a national E-Verify program. We'll put 25,000 Border Patrol and ICE agents on the ground and let them do their job. We'll defund sanctuary cities, and instead of catch and release, we'll go to catch and deport. So we have the answers of what we need. But look at all of those issues, and D.C. hasn't handled any of them. That's why we have to have term limits in D.C. once and for all. And if this week didn't prove it to you, we've got to have mental competency tests for anyone over the age of 75. That's not being disrespectful. These are people who are making decisions on our national security. They're making decisions on our economic policy. These aren't tough tests. This is, you that matches, you say, tell me 4 words that start with the letter A. What town were you born in? How many grandchildren do you have? What? I don't know what y'all are laughing at. We need to start getting D.C. in order. But Biden has proven to be incredibly weak, and Kamala is not up for the job. And I will continue to say a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Kamala Harris. That's who we're actually running against. We have to make sure she wins. And when you look at our national security, look at the fact that we've got a Chinese spy balloon going over our country. You've got Russia invading Ukraine. You've got China on the march. You've got North Korea testing ballistic missiles and Iran building a bomb. But none of that would have happened, that debacle in Afghanistan. My husband's a combat veteran. He deployed to Afghanistan. The idea that we left Bagram Air Force Base in the middle of the night without telling our allies who stood shoulder to shoulder with us for decades because we asked them to be there. Think about what that told our friends. More importantly, think about what that told our enemies. And when you look at China and the threat that they are, they're literally infiltrating our country. They have been planning war with us for years. We've got to snap out of it. And Biden's not the one to do it. So while we have those issues, we know how to fix this. Do you remember when you were growing up? How life was? How safe it felt? It was about faith, family, and country. Your parents raised you to be a responsible individual. You know, 3 weeks ago, I dropped my husband off for another year-long deployment. And I watched him and 230 soldiers pick up their 2 duffel bags and load a bus to go to a country they'd never been, all in the name of defending and protecting America. They were willing to sacrifice their lives. They're willing to sacrifice their lives and their families because they still believe in this amazing experiment that is America. So if they're willing to fight for us there, we should be willing to fight for America here. But in order to do that, it's going to take a lot of courage. Courage for me to run. And courage for every one of you to remember, don't complain about what we get in a general election if you don't play in this caucus. It matters. Someone asked me why I was running. And I said, my parents came here 50 years ago to an America that was strong and proud and full of opportunities. I want them to know that country again. I'm doing this for my husband, Michael, and his military brothers and sisters because they need to know their sacrifice means something. They need to know that we do love our country. I'm doing this for my daughter who just got married, and I saw how hard it was for her and her husband to buy a home. And I'm doing this for my son because I have watched how hard it is for him. He's having to write papers of things he doesn't believe in just to get an A. That's not us. That's not America. And now 78% of Americans say that they don't think their kids are going to live as good of a life as we did. We can't be okay with that. I'm not okay with that. We have a country to save. But if we pull together, if we commit, and we remember that even on our worst day, we're blessed to live in America, I promise you, our best days are yet to come. So join me, go to NikkiHaley.com, and let's make sure we save our country once and for all. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Hutchinson.
Dreaming in red, white, and blue. Where we dream as big as we want to.
It's great to be back in Iowa. This is my 13th trip here since January. And it is good to be back. And I know there's nothing magical about 13, but it just happens to be that tonight. So make it our lucky night. I'm glad to be with you, and I'm looking forward to coming back to the Iowa State Fair. My wife, Susan, will be joining me for that occasion, and this year we'll be celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary. I actually dated her hitchhiking across America. I don't recommend that to you, but that's how we started, and it lasted. And we've had some wonderful, happy years together, and I want you to know I also want to express my appreciation to Governor Kim Reynolds. What an incredible job she's done and her and the General Assembly here in Iowa that passed the heartbeat bill. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for protecting the life of the unborn and standing for life. In Arkansas, I signed over 30 pro-life bills. Arkansas was known as the #1 pro-life state in the nation. I did that as governor, and let me tell you, if I'm president of the United States, I will be a pro-life president. And whenever you speak of values, I also reflect back to growing up on the farm. Dear Gravett, Arkansas, a cattle poultry farm, simple life. My mom and dad had high school educations, but they also taught us the value of work, the importance of faith. Those are values you can only learn on the farm. Wouldn't it be great if we had a president of the United States that understood small-town Iowa farm values and how important a farm bill is to the agricultural community in this state? I applaud what you do, and we need to continue to support agriculture. I'm looking forward, as I said, to being at the Iowa State Fair. I also want to tell you that I was looking forward to being in the debate in Milwaukee. And it's important for me to be there as well as the other candidates. My website is asa2024.com. Yes, we could use your dollar. The key to being on the debate is you're in a pocket tonight, and so help us to get there. Let me go on and transition to these are very serious times in which administration right now, led by Joseph Biden, that has given us a failed policies for the border, and we have no border security. It's a serious time because we have an economy that is struggling, and this last week they announced that we're going to have higher interest rates that impacts your pocketbook, your mortgage payment, your ability of your children to buy their first home, and so we have to get the economy back on track. It's a result of too much spending by the Biden administration. This administration has given us a weak energy policy in which they put all green above all of the above in energy sources. We need to reverse that. And yes, they've given us, with our help, a $32 trillion debt that we're looking at leaving to our children, to our grandchildren. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, threats abroad that we see, from China that is causing trouble in the South China Sea, threatening Taiwan, to Russia invading a sovereign territory of Ukraine, threatening their freedom and stability in Western Europe that the greatest generation fought to protect. And then you have Iran that in the Persian Gulf is threatening our seagoing vessels. And of course you have Russia as well. And so these are serious times in terms of global threats. And yes, I believe in America that needs to be strong. I believe in an America that needs to assert its leadership and that we should not yield to China's leadership on the world stage. Yes, these are serious times in which we live. And these are serious times. We need serious-minded leaders. You know my record and my story. I served as the youngest United States attorney in the nation at the age of 31, appointed by President Reagan. I was called upon by the SWAT teams from 5 different states and the hostage rescue team to go to the hills of northern Arkansas, to don a flak jacket, and to go out and assist in the negotiation with an armed terrorist group, in which they ultimately surrendered after 3 days. I prosecuted and sent to jail. That was my start in enforcing the law in the United States of America.